A couple of weeks ago, I did a video about albums their artists hate, and it made me realize there weren't actually too many full projects that were outright hated by their artists. I guess after spending so long making a complete body of work, it's probably difficult to fully hate it, since there's bound to be at least a few tracks they like. It may be hard to hate a full album, but hating a single song is a different story. And today, I wanted to look at some examples of this. Let's discuss songs that, for one reason or another, are hated by their own artists. Melodies by Madison Beer. Truthfully, I could put any of Madison's pre-2017 work on this list, because her early career was defined by her label trying to fit her into a box she didn't want to be in. Released in 2013, Melodies is Madison's debut single, and it's clear her team was marketing her toward kids and tweens. The track is a bright, upbeat bubblegum pop song, which wasn't a genre she wanted to be in. Madison wanted to do something more soulful, but being only 14 at the time, she felt like she had to go along with what the higher-ups wanted her to do. In her 2023 memoir, which I highly recommend reading, she says she felt the song was cheesy, and that she was essentially playing a character, but she also admitted she understood why her label wanted to brand her as a teen pop act. She had the look and the talent, so it was a no-brainer to push her as a Disney Channel or Nickelodeon type of artist, instead of one who sang mostly ballads. Unfortunately, the song didn't really catch on, and for years, the internet mostly focused on the controversies surrounding Madison, such as the leak of her nudes when she was just 15 years old, and whether she was an industry plant because of her connection with Justin Bieber. She released 3 more singles throughout 2014 and 2015, but again, they didn't really make a big impact outside of her core fan base. Unbreakable, her second single, is similar to Melodies, being an upbeat, feel-good bubblegum pop track, while her next 2 singles, All for Love and Something Sweet, were a little more mature thematically, and had some R&B influence as well. Not seeing the success they wanted, Madison's label, Island Records, let her go when she was 16, though this may have been a blessing in disguise, as she'd end up releasing her debut EP, As She Pleases, in 2018, which better represented the style of music she always wanted to make. Nowadays, Madison's music is a far cry from her early output, being more inspired by artists like Lana Del Rey and Arctic Monkeys. She's also stated that, even though there was really nothing wrong with the songs themselves, she'll probably never perform her first 4 singles live since they don't feel like her, and I totally understand that. I love her first 4 singles, and I think she did a great job on all of them, but really, they could have been sang by anyone. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it is unfair that she was practically forced into doing tracks that were basically the opposite of her artistic vision. Her last 2 albums definitely feel unique to her, and you could tell they all came from a deeply personal place, which really can't be said about Melodies or her following 3 singles. So even though the tracks are enjoyable as mindless pop fluff, I totally get why Madison doesn't want to be hearing these melodies in her head anymore. Break the Rules by Charli XCX. Charli has had a very interesting career to say the least. She's managed to simultaneously be one of pop's most mainstream accessible artists, and also one of its most experimental and niche. She clearly understands how to write massive pop hits, penning smashes like Selena Gomez's Same Old Love and Shawn Mendes's Señorita, and her own discography is pretty much split between avant-garde projects like Pop 2 and How I'm Feeling Now, and more mainstream-friendly stuff like Crash and Sucker. And speaking of Sucker, this album was really when Charli blew up in popularity, mainly due to the success of the first 2 singles, Boom Clap and Break the Rules. While she's admitted she went through a phase where she didn't like the album, since she went in such a different direction for her following work, she's since softened up on it, and says she likes the album as a whole, aside from one song, that song being Break the Rules. Charli wrote the track at a writing camp, and it was originally intended for another artist. She evidently didn't like the song while writing it, saying she thought whoever sang it would be an idiot, but lo and behold, it ended up being on her album, since her label convinced her it would be a hit. The fact that she really didn't have much respect for the song, but it ended up being one of her biggest hits anyways, probably felt like a monkey's paw situation. She blew up in popularity, but it was with a track she didn't like. She even shaded the song in 2022, when a website named it her best, agreeing with a fan account who was baffled at the choice. I personally love Break the Rules. It's bratty, spunky, and full of attitude, but I could see why Charlie isn't particularly crazy about it. It definitely is pretty immature, and doesn't have her best songwriting, but like I said about Madison's early work, there's a place for mindless fun pop tracks, and that's what Break the Rules is. Still, it is cruelly ironic that one of her most recognizable songs is also one of her least favorites. Your Love by Nicki Minaj. Her very first solo song to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, 2010's Your Love is undoubtedly one of Nicki's most beloved hits, though certainly not by her. The track, recorded in 2008, was leaked as an unfinished demo in 2010, to Nicki's disappointment. She had no plans to release it, but seeing how good of a response it was getting online, she decided to clean it up a little and make it a single. The song propelled Nicki into stardom, especially considering her previous single, Massive Attack, wasn't the huge smash she was hoping for, so it ended up working out for her in the end, though I could totally understand why she was upset with the leak. Artists make songs they don't like all the time, so to have one of them leak when they never even wanted it to see the light of day must suck. In Your Love's case, the song wasn't even finished, so that must have been even more embarrassing for Nicki. I'd imagine she probably harbors more resentment for the situation than for the song itself, since she found herself promoting a track she never wanted out there in the first place. Despite the circumstances, at the very least she did get a hit, so things certainly could have gone worse. Almost Home by Mariah Carey. One of the most underrated aspects about Mariah is her songwriting. While most people probably know her for her voice, she's equally as gifted when it comes to her pen game, writing 18 of her 19 #1 hits, and being the primary songwriter for all of her albums. It's clear she has a fierce passion for the writing process, especially since a lot of her work comes from a personal place, which explains why she rarely ever does songs that were written for her. An exception to this would be 2013's Almost Home, which was written by production team Stargate for the movie Oz the Great and Powerful. The track is a triumphant, inspirational anthem that Mariah sells really well, though it 100% could have been sang by someone else. It's not that it sticks out like a sore thumb in her discography or anything, but it is notably less sophisticated and more basic than her other songs. This wasn't coming from a personal place, this was simply a song to promote a movie, and for what it's worth, I think it does its job phenomenally well. I really enjoy Almost Home, though Mariah herself does not. Speaking to Pitchfork in 2018, she said she did the song because Disney wanted her to, not because she liked it. This is somewhat similar to the story for her iconic hit Hero. She did write that song, but she thought it was going to be sang by Gloria Estefan for the 1992 movie Hero, though she was convinced by husband Tommy Mottola to keep it. In the same Pitchfork interview, she said she doesn't think she would have written Hero for herself, though she has grown to love it since it resonates with so many people. Almost Home, though, was not even close to a hit on the level of Hero, and it certainly wouldn't get the same emotional response from a crowd if she sang it. So despite being a solid track, I don't see the Songbird Supreme performing this one anytime soon. Champagne by Marina. The fifth single from her debut album, 2010 Champagne is an electropop banger about the joys of getting drunk. The song was the first co-write she ever did, with songwriters Pascal Gabriel, who previously penned songs for artists such as Kylie Minogue and Rachel Stevens, and Liam Howe from the electronic music group Sneaker Pimps. The song wasn't a massive hit, but it's still well loved by fans. Marina herself, though, admitted to hating it back in 2012, saying she was forced to put it on the album, and that it would have been more suitable for Kylie Minogue. She also stated that working with other people can result in songs you wouldn't necessarily like or feel fits your style, which probably explains her disdain for the track. She even stated she hated performing it, which I think really speaks volumes. There's plenty of artists who have songs they hate, but they'll still perform it since they know the fans will love it. Champagne is a pretty well-liked song, and would undoubtedly get a big response from fans if she sang it, but it hasn't been featured on any of her tours since 2013. I never felt like the song was so different stylistically from the rest of her other stuff, but obviously Marina didn't feel as connected to it as she did with the other tracks from the Family Jewels. Despite her hate for it, I choose to be blissfully ignorant and still believe there's hope for her singing it live again. That's it for this video, but I definitely would love to do a part 2 since there's way more topics I could have covered. So let me know some other songs that are hated by their artists in the comments, and I'll see you next time.